Hey, it's the podcast guy.
Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast.
And there it is! Sutton United of the GM Walsall Conference have put out First Division Coventry City, winners of the FA Cup themselves less than 2 years ago. And what a moment to enjoy for the fans of this Surrey side. They've had their moments before, but never one like this. But the whistle goes down. You like for Sutton United. Sutton United from the National League are through to the last 16 of the FA Cup. No longer English football's perennial non-league club. A 123-year crescendo reaches a new peak for Sutton United, who are promoted to the Football League for the first time.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. It's the Sutton Podcast. I'm your host, and joining me on today's panel we've got JR and Mark. We're going to be staying awake and talking about the anti-football draw at Mansfield. Don't forget you can help with subscriptions to the show with Patreon or on the page on the website, which is suttonpodcast.com. I've had a little bit of a revamp on some of the special episode pages, so check those out and let me know what you think. If anyone's got any thoughts or wants any more information, just drop me a message by email, which is suttonpodcast@gmail.com. Anyway, let's get to it. We'll start with you, Mark. It's been about 6 weeks since you were last on, and I think we covered the Hartlepool draw. How have you been since then?
Not great, actually. I'm better now, but I've been suffering with a bit of a cough. And in fact, I was too ill to come to the Crawley game on the 7th of March. I was just on my sick bed. I had a nasty dose of food poisoning on top of this other thing, so I was barely able to move. But I'm on the road to recovery now. It's just a slow journey, unfortunately.
It's withdrawal symptoms from not being on. That's
something like that, yeah.
And JR, hello, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. Yeah,
Good. It's been 238 days since you were on.
I know it's been a while, yeah.
It was the opening day of the season. It was the draw against Newport. You can see where I'm heading with this. It was both draws. You were both last time on. How have you been, JR?
Yeah, all good. Just busy, very busy with work. I've only just got back from Mansfield, actually, a couple of hours ago. So yeah. Luckily there was no train problem, so that was
Well, you do get, though, because it's been a while, to kind of reintroduce yourself to everyone with the "Who are ya?" So.
Yeah, so I've been supporting Sutton since early 70s, about 74, 75. Mum took me down, and I was hooked. We tried to go to Crystal Palace a couple of times, but it was a bit too violent. And so I said, Mum, I want to go and watch Sutton. It was much better. And she went to the 1970 game against Leeds, and I've been hooked ever since. And then my sister came as well before she emigrated to Canada and then New Zealand. So it runs in the family. And I've been to obviously most of the games. Got some great memories, but unfortunately I was too young to go to the away games in the Anglo-Italian. Mark Craik tends to rib me about that.
Sure, he's never mentioned it at all, ever. Right, so I know you've had a few conversations with me about the ultimate team, and finally you get a chance to do a challenge. So in a second, I'm going to come back to you guys and ask your challenges for the Sutton Podcast Ultimate Sutton United 11.
And now, 125 years in the making. The Sutton United Talk Time on podcast. Sutton United all-time Ultimate 11.
So JR, go on. We'll start with you. Who do you want to challenge, and who with, and why should your person be in the squad instead?
Right. Okay. So we're going to go for the, as you may know, I'm going to go for the goalkeeper. Now, remind me, who have we got in as goalkeeper at the moment?
We got Dino. Now it was Gary McCann, but now it's Dino.
Yeah. Well, I'm going to go for Ron Fearon. Now, for me, he's the greatest goalkeeper that's played for Sutton. But also, he was just a good guy, and really enjoyed his performances. He went on to play for Ipswich and then and also for I believe internationally for Canada. Obviously Dino's absolutely fantastic, and Fitzroy McCallsky is another one. But Ron Fearon for me was just the best goalkeeper that I've seen in a Sutton shirt.
Okay, no problem. We'll put that out there. And Mark, who are you challenging with who?
I'm sorry, I didn't know this was coming up, Mike, so I can't even remember who's in the latest 11, let alone having thought of a replacement. So sorry, I'm going to have to duck out of this one.
Oh, you're going to do a Claire and not done your homework. Okay.
Another one for Mark, if you like.
No, sorry, we'll have to one this week. It's absolutely fine. Don't worry. Excellent. Okay, so we'll put them out to the vote, or put that out to the vote, and we'll see what people say. I have to say, I think it's probably going to be Dino, because a lot of the people who vote will be the young ones, so you're going to have to whip up a bit of frenzy with some of the older folks.
I'd ask people to Google where Ron Fearon.
So on to the match. So before the match, obviously the preview, Matt hinted that there were a few players with knocks. Obviously, probably the one you didn't want was Eastie, and it was Eastie, and Lee and Matt, I think, was the other one who picked up on knocks. So how were you feeling at at the lineup stage, Mark? If we start with you.
Well, a little bit apprehensive. You saw that I hadn't spotted that Matt Dennis was missing. I think actually JR pointed that out to me, but I'd spotted that Eastie and Liango were missing, from the starting 11 and indeed from the bench. So I thought, well, these are two important players for us. They've been playing well lately, and against a side like Mansfield, we could struggle a bit without those two. So yeah, I wasn't particularly optimistic about the game even before I saw the starting lineup. I was slightly more apprehensive after I saw who was starting and who was on the bench. But in the end, I think perhaps we did a bit better than any of us might have feared.
Yeah, and as well as the players missing, apparently Hish injured himself in the warm-up, JR. So what were your thoughts, kind of, again, ahead of kickoff?
I wasn't particularly bothered, to be honest. I thought we'd do okay. Mansfield are struggling to score goals. Their form, I know we're struggling to score goals as well, but their form hasn't been that great. Fans have been moaning about them a little bit. They've got loads of injuries, so I thought, well, we'll match them. It was a game that I felt that we really needed to win. But it's not the end of it. It's not the end of the world. But I was quite happy. I was confident. But as Mark says, Eastie's just such a massive blow. But I'm sure we'll talk about Harry in a little bit because he was outstanding. But Eastie, he is the leader, and we're a much better side when he's playing.
Yeah, I think he's one of those that sort of brings everyone up. So player for player, you could possibly say, can easily be replaced, but it's all the other bits that go on as well.
Yeah.
The first half was possibly not box office football.
Well, neither was the second.
At least there's some shots. But lots of talking points. It seems that their commentators and a lot of their fans learned a new phrase and decided to use it at every opportunity, saying anti-football, 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 every single little thing that we did. The ref probably didn't help himself by letting a few things go. I know when he booked Omar, he pointed to about 74 different other incidents that he could have booked him for. But the actual thing he booked him for did seem very kind of tame, to be honest. The guy kind of turned his shoulder as Omar was running. So I'm not sure what Omar was actually supposed to do. What did you think of the referee overall?
Is the same ref, I think, who sent off Omar at Stockport back in October after just a few minutes. So he doesn't seem to like Omar very much. I think we've now, for whatever reason, acquired this reputation of being a physical, slightly thuggish side. Having seen every other side in League Two this season, I don't think we're any more physical than most of the others. We've got a couple of players, Craig and Omar, who pick up a lot of cards. That just reflects the way they play. I don't think the rest of our squad are particularly prone to bookings. As I say, I think once you get a reputation, other fans look for evidence to kind of support that reputation and ignore evidence to the contrary. And I think we're a little bit of a victim of that. It doesn't bother me. I think if you actually acquire that sort of reputation, it can actually help you because, opponents can be a little bit wary of you as a consequence of that. So I don't think it necessarily does as much damage.
Yeah, I mean, I saw one comment from one of their fans after their lineup was announced, and it was, that's good, that's the most physical side we could have picked against this lot. It's like,
Yeah.
Hang on, what are you picking your teams against? to change your teams against us? I mean, JR, what were your thoughts kind of on the ref?
Well, I do agree with Mark. I mean, it's interesting to see. I mean, their fans are having a go, but I felt that the ref had certainly missed some challenges from them and seemed to let a lot go. Doesn't like Omar clearly. The fans having a go I find that funny as well, because I think it's a lot of respect. If you look at someone like Gab Sutton, who's very well respected. I mean, he's championing Omar all the time about he can play in League One and stuff like that because of his work rate, his energy. And yes, he is going to foul a few people, but it's because he's put his body on the line every single game, and as does Eastie, and that's why they get booked. They're going to miss times and challenges, but they're not out there to injure people. But the ref, I think the ref missed quite a bit. They only conceded 8 fouls, which, I mean, there was some quite bad tackles by them, but they weren't given. But it was interesting because they didn't. Obviously, Oliver Hawkins has gone now from Mansfield, and they played him at centre back against us generally because he's tall. And if you watch the game back at the start of the game, Omar was winning every single header. It was causing them all sorts of problems by winning headers. I know we didn't create chances, but he was just winning every, and they really couldn't cope with that. And the crowd obviously didn't like that very much either. It must have been difficult for the ref, I have to say, with everybody having a go at him all the time. But we were having a go at him as well. So you can't win.
Yeah, I mean, a fairly big talking point was the challenge by Kobe, which they were convinced was an elbow. Now, obviously, watching it from the camera angle, which is a million miles away, it's hard to see. But Paul's photos, as they're jumping for the ball, Kobe's arms are down.
Yeah.
So unless in the split second between the photos he's gone up, bang, and back down again, it's mad.
Where we were sitting, where it was the other end of the pitch, had an absolute clear view of it, and it was an honest attempt for the ball. Kobe was just a fraction late. That was all it was. It was just a fraction that he was late. So it was a genuine attempt. Hence why the referee took no action, because there was no action warranted apart from a free kick, because you could see it was a genuine attempt at the ball. So that wasn't a problem. I mean, one of the problems I had with the players, one of their guys went down for a challenge from Omar and was banging his fist against the ground. Didn't get anything. He got up and carried on. 2 seconds later, and so there was a lot of play acting from the Mansfield players as well, trying to drag bookings and things like that. I mean, it was ridiculous, and I don't like to see that kind of thing. I mean, it was like he had a really serious injury. He was going to be carted off, but no, less than 10 seconds later, he was up running around.
So you see that so often. I mean, some of the Grimsby players are doing that, for example, in a recent game against them.
I mean, it's not unique to Mansfield fans calling us thuggish. I mean, the Grimsby players were pretty dirty themselves, but that's down to the referee to get control of the game. I don't blame them at all. That's how they want to play. That's up to them.
I mean, when he was looking at the Kobe challenge, he kind of got up and kind of collapsed again. I'm surprised, I'll be honest, he didn't have to go off for
I saw that.
a concussion check.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it did look straight away like he had done something. But if you look at their forum, which I had to close down because I was like, I'm sure some of this is libelous. He was play acting. He'd taken a look at their player, realised the damage, and decided to, in that split second, to do a lot of play acting to avoid a card. It's like, you're giving him a lot of credit to make a medical assessment with a glance and then an Oscar-worthy performance. But I mean, obviously, it put them into some changes early on. They do have some injuries, so you can kind of see where they're coming from. I mean, this whole anti-football thing, I do think it's a lot of, we're little old Sutton, we should roll over and let them tickle our bellies. And when we don't, it's unfair. But I mean,
it's a bit bizarre because we had 53% possession to their 47. We had 7 goal attempts to their 5, 2 on target to their 1. So I'm not sure. Yeah, all right, we conceded more fouls, but they didn't do anything.
Yeah.
I mean, for me, Mansfield were one of the worst sides we've played in a long time. They created absolutely nothing.
I have to say, I've said it many times, is when you're playing against a team that you think is beneath you and they've only got, that's all they've got, long ball and physical, it should be very easy to match.
Yeah.
It should be really easy to do it. I think it was Matt Busby's autobiography that said, Bobby Charlton said, Matt Busby said, all they can do is outmuscle you. Don't let them outmuscle you, and you'll win the game. And that was the instruction from one of the best managers in England. But Mark, what did you think of the overall performance of the first half? Was there anything we could have done to break the deadlock?
I don't think either side played particularly well. There were little spells of a good approach play by both sides, but the final ball into the box just generally wasn't good enough. It was overhit or for a defender to clear. There wasn't much of a real goal threat. I don't think either keeper really much tested during the whole 90 minutes.
No. There was one bit in the first half where Ajiboye was down the right, and I think it's when Omar took their guy out. I think he might have got booked for it. But Ajiboye was in so much space, and that's the one frustrating thing I have at the moment, is that we concede far too many fouls, and we did yesterday in the opposing third of the pitch when we were on an attack, and we do that time and time again. There were, even in the second half with corners and things like that, the referee was giving fouls against us, and I just wish we could cut that out, or minimise them. And that was a case in point in the first half, because David was away, and that was a really dangerous attack. That was the most dangerous attack of the half, I think. So, yeah, frustrating.
What do you guys think it is? Because I get a little bit frustrated. It must be a reason that neither him or Josh does it. When they've got the ball at their feet and they're running at defenders, they sign to get to the edge of the box and then turn back, rather than going into the box and taking over a trailing leg or having everyone terrified to touch them. There must be a reason for it, but it just seems that they kind of get to the penalty area and then turn back to spin the ball out again.
Yeah, I mean, I think David has in the past cut into the box, but he's not done it much of at all since he rejoined us. I don't know why that is. I think possibly the goal he scored against Harrogate, it did involve him doing that. He was inside the box when he scored that one. I think it was the second attempt as well. But by and large, he hasn't been doing that as much. Whereas Will, as we know, does like to cut inside the ball on his right foot.
Don't tell everyone, he's secret.
Well, you do see it quite a lot in some of the games where they know exactly what he's doing, and sometimes they still can't stop him. So
yeah, that's it. That's what I'm saying. Is if we know what we're going to do, just stop it. If it's so obvious, just stop it. But the second half, we kind of came out with a few good chances. Probably when everyone was still queuing up for their tea. I think Ben had a couple and Ali had one that could have. I mean, it could have broke the deadlock. We could have stole that win, stole a goal and held on. But it kind of petered out then after a little while.
Yeah.
Do you think the substitutions had any kind of impact on the game, or was it just to avoid a second yellow for Omar?
Yeah.
Well, definitely to avoid a second yellow, wasn't it, Mark?
Yeah, I mean, one substitution was enforced because David had to go off at half time. I think he dislocated his thumb, wasn't he? So, I don't quite know how that injury arose, but they lost a player through injury during the game. So did we. That balances things out. Killian came on for Omar, and I don't think made much of an impression. Enzio was on for David, obviously a bit earlier. Again, he did okay, but didn't really change the game at all. I think it was Dundo came on for the last 8, 9, 10 minutes. Ali had a chance to have it.
I think one of the Sutton youth lot said, I think the age gap between our strikers in the second half was 23 years. Has there ever been a wider age gap between strikers?
I think those two have been on before. I think it might have been last season or even the season before. I can't remember, but they have briefly been our strike force in at least one previous game. And of course, the age gap would have been the same then as it is now.
We were talking about it on the train back home, and I mentioned Wayne Rooney, but when Rooney was 16, but he would have had to play with a 39-year-old. Can't see that in the Premier League. So it probably is a record, in the Football League. Amazing.
So I mean, there's two things to talk about here. One positive, one negative. Let's go with the negative first. Last 3 games, 0 goals scored. not many chances made. Is it worth worrying about this end of the season that we're still struggling for goals, or is it literally just the way those games have gone?
I don't think it's worth worrying about. In the game before those three you mentioned, Mike, we scored 3 goals against Crawley. It was the first time this season we scored 3 goals in a league game. And we've only conceded once over those 4 games. So I'm certainly not remotely concerned. I mean, all teams go through little fallow spells from time to time where they're not scoring, and they almost invariably come to an end. So I'm not remotely bothered. And of course, two of those games, goalless games, are away from home against decent sides, or sides who've been playing quite well. So I'm remotely concerned about it.
Yeah, I feel the same as Mark. You look at the way that the teams we've played has also set up. They've almost set up like the way that we've set up, is not to concede, and hopefully, our strengths are obviously on the break with David and the top two working really hard. So no, I'm not concerned at all. And 9th place in League Two. Well, 3 years ago you wouldn't have dreamt of this. So we'll keep doing what we're doing. I just think we're solidifying our place in the Football League, and we'll just keep going. We've still got a chance of the playoffs, but we do have to win our home games, all 3 of the 4 home games, I believe. And if we win 3 of the 4 home games and at least 2 of the 4 away games and get a little point here or there, then we've got a good chance of getting the playoffs. I just don't want to go to Carlisle on Tuesday night or something. But
Well, the flip side of that coin was, as Mark, you kind of said already, in the last 4 games we've conceded only 1 goal. So 3 clean sheets. So defensively, we're extremely strong. How sort of proud are you at that? Is it a unit? Is it one individuals? Is it?
For me, it's a unit. They're all they're fantastic, and it was so solid yesterday. I mean, Grimsby was just the one mistake. That was Grimsby's only shot on target in the game. Although we weren't great, we had more chances in that game. No, they're brilliant. Rose has been superb. He's just got better and better all season. His distribution's better. Kizzy's missed 1 game, I think, 1 league game. And having Goody back, and Kobe's been brilliant, and Rob, of course. And when Sam comes in, Sam's been playing really well. So, it's a nice headache for Matt to have. I mean, I feel sorry for Sam actually not playing, but Rob is number 1 choice. And I think they're just brilliant, and it's great that we've all got them on contract for next season.
Yeah. I think JR's right. I think the return of Ben Goodliff has been important. I mean, our defensive record wasn't bad before he came back, but I think it's improved since he returned to the start. He is so good. He's so good at reading the game and anticipating the danger and clearing the ball, and he provides real leadership at the back. And I think with him, and whether it be Kobe or Lurie playing alongside him, you always feel going to concede many, if any, goals in the game.
Yeah, he just seems to have an old head organising everyone. Yeah. And again, similar to Eastie, just bringing everyone up that little bit, switching them on a bit more. So I'll be honest, the 4 games, the most recent 4 games, the Grimsby one threw me. Mansfield, I actually thought they were going to get a win over us. So I see that. Yeah. So we're ahead there, but we're a little bit behind with the Grimsby one. Although, looking at my predictions, I've got us winning all the last 5 games of the season, so I'm not entirely sure how that's going to work out, but never mind, we'll go there. But what are we thinking of the season in general? You've mentioned 9th place, absolutely insane. I almost would prefer 9th place to 8th place and missing out by a couple of points again. But especially after the start we had, it can only be a successful season. Mark, we'll start with you. What are your thoughts on the season overall?
Yeah, I agree. Considering we had quite a difficult autumn where we had a lot of players out in. We were grinding out results mainly at home, not getting much joy on the road. Lost a few at home, but we were clear of the drop zone, but still way away from the playoffs going into the kind of festive period. And then since those injured players came back, Alistair Smith, Kobe, I think we looked a better side, and of course Matt strengthened the attacking options in January as well, with Liangol coming in and David coming back, and Matt Dennis as well. So I think since about December we've been a better side, and the results have reflected that. I think to move up as far as ninth reflects very well on Matt's recruitment and on his management of the team. I can't see us, to be honest, finishing much higher than ninth. I think we're going to struggle to get into the playoffs because we've got some tough games coming up. We've still got to play. I think five teams are above us in the table, and that's going to be difficult. And the other games that we've got against the sides below us are all away from home, and our away record is not that great. So we may end up finishing a bit lower than if we finish top half. And I think that's still a bit of a good season.
Joe?
Yeah, I totally agree with Mark. I think look, it's extremely difficult when you have 5 centre backs at the club and 4 of them are out on long-term injuries. I mean, I don't know how any club could cope with that, but we did very well, and then we lost some key centre midfielders as well at the same time. It makes it very difficult. And the season before, of course, we had a lot of injuries as well. It was really nice to go through a season and have limited injuries where you can cope. And I think Matt and the coaching staff can take a lot of credit, especially with the centre backs going out and with Joe filling in and Enzio, and absolutely superb. And so to be up to 9th place, I think is really, really outstanding. And with a bit of luck, we could have been higher up, without these injuries, and we're still, we're still missing John, Barden, and Josh has been out, and Louis has been out for quite some time now, which is the Kobe's been brilliant coming in. So yeah, I think it's excellent what they've done. But like Mark says, I agree. I think we're going to struggle with the flow, but you just don't know. We're good at home. We can, we've got a good record against Northampton, so I'm counting that as 3 points. Stockport's have never scored at our ground, I don't think. So I think we'll get 3 points there. I'm getting hopeful. We're due to beat Walsall. Yeah.
No, I agree. I mean, it's one of those. It's like, it's probably gone now. And then you just look at the players and you think you're a bunch of bastards. You'll probably just go out and beat all the sides now that we were expecting you to struggle against, and really annoy us and get us into the playoffs.
Well, I mean, one thing's for certain, Mike, is that we're going to get 100% out of the players. They're going to give 100%. So you never know what might happen. It'll be great. It'll be amazing if we do get in the playoffs. It'll be brilliant.
To be fair, as you both kind of alluded to, when we were in October time, November time, sitting there going, if we could just get sort of in the top 25 or top 20, would be quite happy actually. Thank you very much. But to get anywhere near the top half of the table would be amazing. Right, so just before Player of the Day, this isn't meant to sway your votes or anything, but I did message both Kobe and David asking how they were, and David's like, the funds all back in place. And I said to Kobe, how's the cut on the head? He's like, it's all right, it's a cut, but I'm a big boy, it's all right. And I just imagine the physio Kobe on the pitch looking at him going, you're a big boy, get up. Just crack on with it. What's wrong with you? But I'm going to come back to you now in 2 seconds, and I'll ask you for your player of the day. I can't find the clip. Oh, there it is. 1 sec.
Now watch me do my dance. I'm the player of the day.
Right, I just did eeny, meeny, miny, mo, and it's Mark. You go first.
Okay, not easy. I don't think we had any standout players. I'll go for the player who came closest to scoring, and I've already mentioned him, Ben Goodliff. He had a header cleared off the line early in the second. Had a couple of other chances that were off target, but he looked our player most likely to be in the net, and also played one at the back as well, of course.
Lovely. JR, your first choice?
Well, Ben would have been one of my choices, but I've got to go for Harry. Yeah. I thought Harry was absolutely outstanding in the middle of the park. Broke up a lot of play from the Mansfield players, and distributed the ball very well. I thought he had an excellent game. I think it was his best game back. I'll go for Harry.
Okay, Mark, a bit harder now. It's your second choice.
Yeah, I'll go for Will. Not one of his better games, but I think he's not been playing particularly well recently. But I think we saw glimpses of the old Will yesterday on a couple of occasions in the second half where he got down the left, and got quite into some space and got a dangerous ball in towards his teammates. So it was a little bit of a flickering performance, but I think he's maybe starting to show some of his early season form again.
Yeah. I mean, I thought his booking, you could say it was deserved. It was a booking. But if you watch it back a couple of seconds beforehand, one of their players did exactly the same thing to him. And he broke away from that and then went and pushed their player and he got booked for it. And it's like, hang on a minute, it's just happened to him seconds ago. And it's kind of what you were saying earlier, JR. But what's your second choice, JR? Who's your second choice?
Right. Well, it is difficult, but as we didn't concede any goals and we didn't create much up front, I have to go for another. I have to go for Ben's central defender partnership, Kobe Rowe. I thought Kobe was excellent again. You know, I mean, he obviously had the head injury. We restricted them to very little. So I think he can take enormous credit for that. So I'll go for Kobe.
Excellent. Okay. Well, I'll put them out for the vote and we'll see what people think. So yeah, we're moving on to, as you mentioned, Walsall, who now we're going to do a complete flip around of what we were saying last week. And Mansfield never beat us, and now we're going to go, well, now we're due a result against Walsall because we've never beaten them, I don't think.
No.
So, I mean, they have to be one of the sides, I mean, like Swindon, who must think that we are absolutely awful. Because I think every time we've played them, we've been in an injury crisis or something's gone wrong, and they always manage to beat us. But what are your thoughts on Walsall? I don't even know where they are in the league. So, Mark, why you're
mid-table?
Are they? So, yeah. So, Mark, what do you think about that game? What do you think we need to do? Anything different or just same as?
I mean, if you look at Walsall's results, they draw an awful lot of games, a lot of 0-0s and 1-1s. They're defensively, I think they're quite well organised. They've got some big guys at the back there. They made some interesting signings in January. They signed the two Forest Green strikers from last season, Jamil Matt and Matt Stevens, but neither has actually been scoring much. I think Jamil Matt might be injured, but I think Stevens has been playing, and he's only got 1 or 2 goals for. So they haven't really kind of come alive in a kind of goal scoring way, and as might have been expected with those two signings. They do have that horrible Connor Wilkinson who scored the penalty against us up there last season, who proceeded to taunt the Sutton fans, as he had when he scored against us for Dagenham a few seasons earlier, and he's been playing for them. So good chance we'll be facing him again. Pray he doesn't score against us. But I don't think there'll be a lot of goals in the game. It'd be nice to think we can nick it, maybe 1-0. But I think 0-0 or 1-1 are probably the most likely results.
Yeah, I mean, in a way, I liked it when he scored against us because the reaction he got was, who? What? Why? Why are you doing that? We don't know who you are. JR, what are your thoughts? I mean, we don't get to say this very much as a Sutton fan, but if we do want to harbour any lingering hopes for the playoffs, we've got to be beating teams like Walsall. I like saying that.
Well, you could say we should be beating teams like Mansfield as well, given what's been on there for them. Look, you're right. I mean, they're sitting in 13th place on 49 points. They've got a game in hand over us, but Mark's right. I mean, look, it's got 0-0 written all over it. If you honestly, they've scored 39 and conceded 37, I think. 39 and conceded 33. So they're quite tight, and we're 40 and 40. So it doesn't really look as though there's going to be many goals in this, but. You never know. Yes, as long as Wilkinson doesn't score, because he has been injured, but he's back. It's going to be a tight one. We do something there, because the times we've played them, I haven't really been that very impressed with them at all. But then we haven't played very well either. So let's hope. If we got our A game, then I can't. We'll win. I think we'll win. I'll go for that.
I think a lot might depend on whether we got players back. If we've got Angol and Eastman, maybe 1 or 2 others back. I think. Angol
should be back because he was out for the illness, and Easty. Was Matt's interview alluded to is Easty and Matt Dennis. They're not bad injuries, so there's a hope. There's hope there for that. Obviously, we got Met Police on Tuesday, but none of those guys.
I don't think we're gonna. I don't think that's going to be a strongish team. I mean, you don't know. I mean, he might.
Well,
what happens
Luke Gambin might play, I would think, because he needs some game time. And whether Sam Hart plays, I don't know. But
but maybe Hish. I don't know if he's
and Killian possibly.
Yeah. So you never know. It'll probably be a mix, but mostly academy side again. So good luck to them. Get us through to that final. Come on.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's about it, gents. Thank you very much for your thoughts. Thanks for your time. I'll let you crack on with your Sunday evenings. Thanks to everyone for listening. Let me know what you think. Any thoughts on the show at Sutton Podcast on any of the socials. And we'll take care and we'll see you soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.
United!